All right, welcome back. Joining us now is a very special guest. He is an ECU alum. He is an NFL agent. He is the founder of the Apex Sports Group. He is Bill Johnson. And Bill, just want to first start off and appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us today.
Oh man, it's great to be with you and certainly be talking about East Carolina football and Greenville, place near and dear to my heart. Born and raised there, all four grandparents there, and just a great place certainly to have absorbed some great football really from little league on up. It's been exciting, watching the ESPN coverage on East Carolina's field, and I know the baseball team's done well, so it's fun to be a fan, but it's fun when you can call it home. My claim to fame there with the players, I could say that I actually played on East Carolina's field. However, that was when I was at Rose High School.
Yeah, you have deep roots here
Yes, I love it.
in Greenville.
Yes, indeed, love it. Great,
Well,
great memories.
I wanted to get you on the program today because we've been talking a lot this year, and you've been instrumental and have made this Pirate Radio football kickoff party very special this year because of your connection with Linval Joseph. You
Yeah,
have helped bring this to fruition, and I know Pirate Nation is super excited about having Linval at our party. And as I mentioned, you are an NFL agent as well. You represented Linval and so many other players.
yeah.
But just first of all, just want to thank you. And I know you're coming to the party as well. And we're
Oh,
excited to have you back into Greenville as well. And tell everybody, I mean, we've had Linval on the program, and just a super individual, and obviously a guy that's made East Carolina so proud. Tell us how your relationship with Linval became so good, and then we can talk more about how he's coming to the party.
yeah, he's a great story. Certainly, first of all, as an individual, he's just a fine young man. I'm blessed to have him as a client, as a friend, the whole deal. I mean, we'll get old together. I've got a jump start on him on that. But as a player, it's also very rewarding for me to represent such a good guy like that. And he's been to Pro Bowls, Super Bowls. So, we did a contract that made him the highest paid player in the history of his position at one point. So he was rewarded for that. But moreover, as he's been a veteran of this league, he's got teams still calling on him as a 13, 14, 15-year veteran. And it's because of what he brings to the table as an athlete. In San Diego, as a veteran, they would give him what we call veteran days off. And Linval refused the days off because he said he had young talent like the Bosa brothers, that one of the Bosas was there. And I need to show him how the game is played, how important it is. You don't take a day off, those kind of things. I mean, I'm reminded even being at the Pro Bowl with Linval, and I was ordering drinks for the table, and a Pro Bowl offensive lineman who I won't mention came up and he said, "Bill, I'll get your drink." And I said, "Man, that's all right. I got a big order." And he said, "Well, all right, well, never mind then." And he said, "Well, who is it?" I said, "Linval." He said, "Oh, this guy was an inside lineman, offensive lineman." He said, "Oh Lord, I'll take his drinks for the weekend if he'll keep his hands off me during the regular season." So highly regarded player, but coming out of high school in Florida, he's originally from St. Croix in the Virgin Islands. So I don't know really the extent of the sophistication of football over there, but he found his way to Florida. His mother came over to Florida to work for the police department, and was just an exceptional athlete ongoing. I think he talked on your show. He wasn't always a big guy, and he actually took some bullying, if you can believe that, from a guy that I've seen weigh as much as 360 pounds. But he became an athlete in a way to, to fortify his own belief in himself and et cetera. Went into track, powerlifting, football, and then being right there in Florida at Santa Fe High School. Florida recruited him, Auburn did, and he always felt like he was going to go to Florida. And as it turned out, about 3 weeks really prior to signing day, what they would call it now, Florida indicated that they wanted him really as offensive lineman. He didn't want to do that. And so they signed the Pouncey twins. I don't know if you remember them. Those guys both became first-round picks in the NFL and Pro Bowl players. They signed the Pounceys, and Linval, fortunately for Pirates, he went and visited East Carolina before going to Auburn. And I just spoke with his mother, Ernestine, who's outstanding. And Ernestine had said that they promised, we're not going to sign anywhere. We're going to go see all places. But when they got to East Carolina and they saw the community and the people, and they really enjoyed Coach Holtz and our coaching staff and our Pirate community, they said this is home and signed and haven't looked back. And as you saw on your show, he's really excited to get home. But again, as a player, just a dominant presence in the inside and regarded as that around the league. They won a Super Bowl his second year, and articles were written that he was one of the reasons it turned around on the inside of the defense. And then just his athleticism as a guy that's been 330 to 360 pounds. He had an interception when he was playing for the Vikings that the sports science guys on ESPN, they do their kind of nerd calculations, and it calculated that he was running close to 20 miles per hour at 330, 340 pounds, taking it to the house. So he's not just regarded as a great East Carolina player in the NFL. He's regarded as an exceptional player and really, one of the top of the last decade and kind of his era because of the athleticism, the presence, not taking days off, playing hurt, all the things that are old school. But it really did start with a drive as a young high school guy that got quasi-bullied a little bit, and that Florida said, you're not good enough to be a defensive tackle. We're going to make you an offensive tackle. And Linval's a guy that you don't want to challenge like that. He'll step right up.
Yeah, Linval has been so much fun to watch in his career, and I'm so excited that you were able to help connect me with Linval, and we were able to get him to come be our special guest coming up in a few weeks at September 10th. And you mentioned Linval. He's, I think, am I correct that he has made the most money of any NFL player? You mentioned his record contract. You were able to work a deal and get him to be the highest paid player at his position at the time. But I think overall through his career earnings, he's got to be the highest earned Pirate on a professional NFL level.
He's certainly done very well. It's public knowledge. Linval's not one that would like it out there, but he's contractually, he's probably made over $80 million, and then that's not including Super Bowl bonuses, Pro Bowl bonuses, etc. So certainly a lot. There have been great ones that come through East Carolina: Dave Garrard, Chris Johnson, our guy C.J. Wilson. We got a couple in the league right now, one being Julius Wood, that are all certainly trying to get there. And those guys that I mentioned earlier had great careers, but it is really a positive indictment for Linval. First, for being so exceptional at his position, but part of that is brought on by the fact that he's been able to play so long. You play, I think the average now is 4 to 5 years in the league when you add them all together. That's kind of the life expectancy of an NFL guy. If you think about Linval's position, he's right there in the middle. The center and guard are trying to grab him and contain him. So he's dealing with double and triple teams every game. And to be able to play in this league 5, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15 years is just exceptional. And so, yeah, he's been able to put a lot of, as we'd say, cordwood out back through the years. And he's done well with his money and has done some nice things with charity. And he's an exceptional family man with his children. That's always very good to see too. He's been all the way around, a case study of what it's like to challenge yourself to get better every day, but also, to be as exceptional off the field as on it. And Linval's the epitome of that.
Yeah, we loved talking to him a few weeks ago and talked about his excitement for the party, his really excitement and love for East Carolina and what that really meant for him. But he also was really super excited about he was going to be in the best shape of his life when he comes to this party, so he can show himself off. But he also pretty much hinted that he's still available, as you kind of hinted too, that if an NFL team comes calling later this football season, that the helmet and shoulder pads could be put back on.
Oh yeah, well, that's a fascinating story. What we did about 4 or 5 years ago. He was coming over some injuries, and he said, man, it's been a while since I've really had enough time to rest and feel good. He had injuries. He said, I couldn't even really wash the back of my neck well. Buttoning a shirt all the way up was tough for him. I mean, his body just needed some rest, again, because the level of play and the tenacity, et cetera, et cetera. And so wasn't ready to call it quits, but wasn't ready to go to camp. So we just said, hey, you're good enough. Let's, to some degree, be a hired gun. Stay in shape, and I promise you, he works out as hard independently as he would have in camp. And so we said, hey, let's just wait it out, not sign with anybody. You get healthy, take the extra time that you need, spend time with family, recharge the batteries, all of that. And then somebody will come calling at some point, in the season. And that first one was the Eagles. And our friend Howie Roseman is the GM there, called 8, 9 games into the season. Said, Billy, we got a real shot, but we need some help inside, veteran presence. How's Linval feeling? And so spoke with Linval about it, and I asked Howie, I said, well, Howie, this is kind of unorthodox, bring a guy in this kind of late in the season. And he said, well, this is brought on not so much by me, but by the guys that have come in my office, Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, and Jason Kelsey. It says, not only do we need some help inside, there's a guy out there, Linval Joseph, that can help us. And to Linval's credit, after, as he would say, coming off the couch, so to speak, he came in after no training camp, after no, practice against the pads. He came in, was there for one day with the team, flew to the away game, played the next day, got a sack and I think 7 tackles after not playing, for really a season and a half. But he's just exceptional being able to kind of turn it on like that. So we just kind of made that a pattern. Let's do that every year. And then we went to the Bills and, well, backing up, the Eagles did go to the Super Bowl, so he almost won a second one. So we kind of paired that up right. We did the same thing with the Bills, and they made a good Super Bowl run. And then he went and played with the Cowboys, really as a favorite. Coach Zimmer has always told me that Linval's one of the favorite players he's ever coached. And he said, I got one more year, and I'm going to spend it in Dallas. I want Linval to come along and help try to build up those guys, Micah Parsons, et cetera. And so Linval's spent time with the Cowboys. So, yeah, man, for his game room, he's got a lot of cool helmets and jerseys to hang up with his name on them.
Absolutely. What's your favorite Linval story that you can tell? I mean, you've mentioned some, but what's the one thing when you think of Linval Joseph that if you could tell us one thing that would really stand out?
Well, a couple of them. First of all, to me, is when I talked to him about growing up in the islands, and he would say going to the rainforest to get fruit on Thanksgiving or whatever, or diving. I don't know if it's abalone diving or lobster diving, but just picture Linval Joseph diving. It's still, to me, whether it be I don't know how you get a bathing suit around that man, but picturing him diving in the islands, for lobster and going into the woods and getting fruit has always been fun and funny for me to visualize. But the times also that his father, he's legit from St. Croix. His father would come into games, away games, and the tailgating with such, a diverse group of people was always such a pleasure. And then that story, I think, of watching him. Oh, I'll tell you one good one, actually. One of the things that I think is a real credit to him is General Manager Rob Brzezinski of the Minnesota Vikings. He loved Linval so much, and so did his kids, that they had a Halloween party, and everybody came as superheroes and all that. And the GM of the team came dressed as Linval Joseph. He had the eye paint, the wraparound glasses, the big elbow pad that Linval wears, the jersey. I mean, he was soup to nuts, Linval Joseph. And it's never a dull moment with Linval. He's very charismatic, as you've seen. He's got an opinion that he's not afraid to share, but it's always informed. But he's just been such a pleasure, again, because he's not the traditional athlete. Again, you don't get many from St. Croix. And then, like I say, they wanted to make him an offensive lineman, D lineman, playing for us instead of, Florida or Auburn. And going in the second round, he probably would have stayed at East Carolina for his senior year. He came out as a junior, but that was when Rock, his position coach, had passed, and I think the coordinator had left, had recently left and gone on, and then Skip had just taken the job. And so he felt like, and then I guess C.J. Wilson and some of his buddies along that great defensive line had moved on. And so he just said, hey, I think I'm going to go on and go out. I did due diligence, and, the league said he's going to go late first to second, and that's where he went. But he was this close to staying at East Carolina. And I guess nowadays with NIL, he would have been able to make that decision after a couple of games in the league. But it would have been fun seeing him at ECU for another year, but wouldn't have traded where he went, going to New York, winning a Super Bowl, learning from great guys, Oseo Monura, and the people that they had around that team that he's still close with. It was just such a great start to his career. First year, he kind of got his feet wet. Second year, he was really thrown right in and made a really, really big impact as a dominant force inside for that Super Bowl winning team.
Yeah, Linval Joseph, just a great career. Worked out pretty good for him to go ahead and leave East Carolina and get that Super Bowl ring in year number 2. And super excited about having him here September 10th for the Pirate Radio Football Kickoff Party. People are going to be able to meet and greet with Linval and get to know him as we have here on the show. And Bill, same thing for you. I mean, you've had an amazing career, and you're going to be at the party on September 10th. And I know you still have a lot of friends and family in this area. But just how was your journey from Greenville, North Carolina to NFL agent to this? Your life seems to be a lot of fun and just tremendous people that you've met along the journey.
I've been lucky and I should, man. And it's really not any method to the madness. I mean, if you do right by people, do what you say what you're going to do, et cetera, et cetera. But, people ask all the time, how do you get in it? I didn't know it was a job. I had no point of reference. None of my dad's friends in Greenville, you look up to all the guys, the older guys. I didn't know anybody who was an agent. And really there was no movie or TV show out, Jerry Maguire or any of that kind of stuff. I went to Florida. An uncle, a relative, gave me a job in the computer software, medical computer software business. John McConnell was good enough. My cousin, who he was married to, I think, made him give me a job. And so the job carried me to Orlando, Florida, and I got my first really taste of pro sports by being a season ticket holder of the Orlando Magic. And I went in, it's like, wow, this is cool. And I saw the guys walking around and got to meet some of the front office staff just kind of through happenstance. And, in my mind, there was the players and the coaches and the owner, cheerleaders or what have you, dancers. And but as I was flipping through kind of the game book, I saw that, there's HR, there's media, there's marketing, and of course now, there's the social media team, et cetera, and then a sales department. And I was very encouraged by that. And so one thing led to another, and I met with a former owner, and he said, man, you would have been a big help back then, when we bought this team. I said, wow, that's great news. What would I do? We'd sell media. So, well, I actually have a broadcasting degree at East Carolina because I thought it was fun. It was a fun way to get my degree. So anyway, flashing forward, I taught myself into a job with the Orlando Magic and loved it. And we were a very good team and had a lot of good experience there, learned from some really, really great people there. And really, as a young guy, and enjoyed the interaction, certainly with my clients, Fortune 100 executives and CEOs that were flying on the plane with us and buying our media and TV commercials, et cetera. But I really enjoyed the camaraderie with the young guys, and they trusted me, and I was closer to their age. So flashing forward, I just said, maybe I should go on the other side of this thing, and left a perfectly good job with the Orlando Magic and became an agent. And it's been now 30 years. And I think ideally when I got in it, I was going to really kind of provide some of the marketing for these guys, the Campbell Soup commercials, et cetera, the trading card deals. And I'd already worked a lot with Nike, Reebok, and Adidas. And so, ideally I was just going to do marketing, and I figured out quickly that to grow our business, really the lion's share is through these contracts. And so I started calling on schools for the firm then that were schools we really hadn't had any players. We couldn't mess it up, so to speak. So at LSU and I don't know, wherever, Texas and Baylor or whatever. And then one thing led to another. And in the agent business, I got good at that and went into the agent side. And again, 30 years in, and have been fortunate to work with really great players, whether it's Linval and CJ Wilson to Brian Urlacher and DeMarcus Ware, who are in the Hall of Fame. It's just been storybook for me and the places I've been able to go. When I grew up in Greenville, I never cared to go anywhere else. A lot of my buddies, they want to go off to school. I said, I'll stay right here, go to East Carolina. I'll live in East Carolina. I'll go down to Atlantic Beach in the summer. I'm fine right here. I started off as a guy that was in the porthole gang at ECU, and the kids' seats, and I was fine staying. But one thing the sport did, and with the Magic, it allowed me to travel all over the country. I traveled with a team and spent 2 days, in Chicago and Arizona and Texas and LA. And at that point, LA might as well have been going to, Mars for me, But I got to see a lot of the country, a lot of the world, and certainly, blessed to work in a business that I have a lot of passion for, which is sports in general and football. And it's nice to make a living. I wasn't good enough to play and do the things Linval or these other guys did, but, to be able to make a living in this thing here and have such great memories. I mean, man, outside of even Super Bowls, games, Olympics, all the stuff I've been to, the cool stuff. I'm a godfather to 3 clients' kids. I got ordained actually and married Brian Urlacher's brother, if you can believe it. So uh, that's been very, very rewarding. And then even retired guys that bring the family in here to Nashville to our place and spend 3 or 4 days with us, over the holidays every year. That part's been really, really rewarding. So I don't have kids, I don't have brothers, but I've said many years that's been my way of family, my extended family, through sharing other families and sharing the camaraderie with these young men. It's been very rewarding.
Yeah, I know you're going to say the relationships, and I can't ask you to pick your favorite client because that's going to be way too hard. But was there a moment that you can stands out the most where Bill Johnson was at a Super Bowl, a Pro Bowl, or the Olympic, or somewhere where it was
Oh,
like, man, this is the coolest thing I've done?
that's a great question, and a lot of things kind of come to mind. I mean, like going with with Penny Hardaway and Shaq on a plane. It was those guys, their families, and us to the Olympics. I mean, that's nuts, man. I'm pinching myself. I grew up in Greenville, North Carolina, played at Rose High, worked in tobacco, worked at Brody's Men's Store, and now, you're juxtaposed. You're on a private jet with guys of that caliber going to the Olympics. That was kind of a pinch myself. Um, I remember being in a tunnel when we were playing in our first World Championship for the Orlando Magic, and I'm standing in the tunnel, and our GM would let me sit there, kind of, I guess maybe grooming me for the future. But we'd stand in the tunnel right there where the players came in and out, 10 feet from the court, and watching those great teams, Houston Rocket teams, and even Chicago when Jordan came back, and we were able to beat them to advance, and to see Jordan play, who was always a hero growing up, obviously coming from North Carolina. And then the Super Bowls that you'd see your guys go play in, it just never got old, man. I mean, even seeing a rookie run out on the field for the first time, I get chicken skin, because whether it's Julius Wood, whether it's Linval Joseph, or whether it's whomever, what went into that. I mean, you and I could say it. You get out on the backyard playing ball, and you're envisioning your favorite player, you know, playing like him, or someday. And to see that dream come true for guys, it's still cool. I never get tired of it. Or to hear their name get called in the draft, it's still super cool. But those things go all the way off from the field to seeing a guy, being at the hospital, a guy having his first baby, or being at a wedding with one of them, seeing one of my big guys get a little mushy. So there's so many great memories, but those are a couple that certainly come to mind. But it's funny, even at East Carolina, and I know everybody still talks about it. You're too young, Ellerby, but guys, maybe some of your listeners can relate. I still remember what it felt like to be at the dang Peach Bowl with Luke Fisher and JB and Jeff Blake and those guys. And that's what's so cool about sports, how it can galvanize people like that, and just burn a hole in you. I remember how good that felt. I remember those plays. I can't remember what I had for breakfast, but I can remember sports-specific things. But that was certainly a great East Carolina one. But, man, there have been so many of them. And just really, as you said, it's like click my heels and something cool worked out for me. And it's been a blessing and one I don't take for granted. I still enjoy doing it now. I've got a young group that works with me, and we've even evolved into, into NIL, which probably conversation for another day. I don't know if philosophically originally I agreed with it. I've benefited from hard coaching and discipline, but I understand it's a new world and the monetization opportunities are there. So, it's kind of now something that's even got me excited, something new. And we've got, I don't know, 60 NIL guys, three of which are East Carolina players, Cruz and Cade Law, who are from right here in Nashville, Tennessee, outstanding players. And then Kendrick DeJour, a nice edge player. So, who knows? Maybe I'll be like Linval and just keep the motor going, and get 5 or 10 more years in.
Well, Bill, you look like you could go a lot more than 10 or 15 more
Oh,
years.
you're
You,
nice.
you,
I
you,
appreciate
you
it.
look like you got a lot of gas in your tank. Your energy, your stories is so much fun. And we're going to have you back on another time just to talk business of sports agents
Oh, yeah.
and NIL and all the other stuff because there's so much. But I'm looking forward to having you here on September 10th at the Pirate Radio Football Kickoff Party. Thank you for helping us bring Linval as a part of that, but you're a special guest as well. And I know people will want to talk to you about your career and we just scratched the surface here today of the stories you have, but I know if they cut you on Thursday, September 10th, you're going to bleed purple all over the Hilton as well. So
There's
I
no
can't
question.
when I was at the Peach Bowl, so I'm not that
Oh,
young.
that's perfect. Okay, good.
I know those stories and so many more. And I remember that defensive line that Linval played on as well. And man, that was a
Oh,
fun group. And I can't wait to hear some stories in person from Linval that night at the party and so much more.
yeah, man, I appreciate it. We're in such good shape there, Jonathan. You know, with the crew we got over there from Philip and John Gilbert, you know, and JJ that's got so much love and passion. And then even just the guys like Big Guy, Matt Maloney that have made our university so cool and fun for guys like us to come back to. I think in this world now, when it is about monetization, those are the things that we've got to lean on to get good players there. Because like Linval, he was planning to go visit Auburn. He got to Greenville and saw what we are as a community. And listen, I know it's about wins and losses, but with Coach Harrell and the names that I just mentioned that are in that town and that are doing things in that community and growing, we're in a great spot. You know, we really are. I think East Carolina's in a great spot. And, you know, I do. I go to all the great stadiums in the world, but there's nothing more fun to me than getting back to Dowdy Ficklen up there with my buddies watching East Carolina football. So appreciate what you do, man, and I appreciate being on today. And I'm excited to get into town with Linval and see some friends, watch some football, and get some good food in us, some down home Southern cooking.
Absolutely. Well, Bill, we'll see you on September 10th and look forward to catching up some more and appreciate your time today.
Okay, man. Take care.